Hey, Mountaineer fans, boy, do I have a jewel of a guest for you today. None other than David Allaway, who was a tailback at WVU back in the mid 80s, along my time there. What a great individual. He has a plethora of knowledge in the business world, fashion, the whole 9 yards. He is now the director of alumni associations there. And he is my special guest today, and you're going to love the conversation. You have no idea how much an honor this is. I got my guy, David Allaway, on Relatively Sports with Eugene Napoleon. Brother, how have you been, man?
I am great, my man. It's beautiful to see you. It's been a long time. Outside of seeing you on, on these casts, haven't seen you, looked at you, quote unquote, face to face in a while. So it's good. It's good to see you, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. How's the family? Everybody good?
Everybody's good. We're blessed. Brother and sister are doing well. Their kids are doing great. Things are good in the Allaway household. So we're happy people. Thank you for asking.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Look, I can't. If I complain, God need to slap me in the head twice. I cannot complain. We're grateful for his many blessings. That's for sure.
Good. Good.
Listen, there's so much, man. I'll catch up on with you. Interesting thing is this. When you first decided to come to WVU at a high school, I always like to start with this question because it's very poignant for parents and would-be recruits, student athletes. What was the process and what made you decide to come to West Virginia?
Well, as you well know, as it starts to come together, and you start to sort of, the coaches start to come in and meet with you in school. You're sitting down with them, looking at your film. You're going through that process. You start to weed down the ones that you feel really strong about, as they are also weeding down whether you are the right one for them. When those when the ones that I felt I was building the best relationship with started to come to fruition, the next step is obviously them coming to your home. That conversation with mom and dad is critical. Right. In your home and in mine, what that was like. My father at some level sitting back and intently listening. And my mother kind of really driving a lot of the conversation because you're taking, who's going to look out for their baby.
That's right.
Was amazing. And, look, when Coach Nealon walked in the house, and Bob Simmons was my recruiter. I loved Bob. Those meetings with him were amazing. And he just made me feel really comfortable. But when Coach Nealon walked in the house and that conversation with my parents was a powerful one. And when he said, look, I'd like to have David come to the university and we'd like to invite him for a visit. When he left, my mother was like, that's the guy. before I'd even, got here and had that experience, he made such a powerful impression on my parents that they felt really comfortable. Of all the people, all the coaches had sat down in front of them. There were a couple that they obviously felt good about where, they said, go ahead, we feel good about you taking that visit. But I think from the get-go, he made such a powerful impression on them that, they were kind of hoping that I'd make the decision to go here.
Right. And what's so funny, David? Which is perfect because it segues into this next piece that I want to talk to you about. Coach Nealon recruited not only good student athletes, but he recruited character.
For sure.
And I told you this last week when we spoke, and you know me, what you see is what you get. My mother always told me, don't waste words. If you don't mean it, don't say it. Real simple stuff, right?
Yeah.
The first day you and I met, when you came on campus,
Mhm.
I knew, as I told you a few days ago, he's a high character individual, smart young man. Doesn't matter what he's going to do outside of football, he's going to be hugely successful in life.
Yeah.
Because you came in and was very detailed orientated, kind of had this maturity about you that was a little bit different than other incoming freshmen, and you can see it from the get-go.
Yeah.
So Coach Nealon knew exactly what he was doing when he left the Allaway household. And I'm so glad that you decided to come to WVU, because over the years, I've watched your career blossom in fashion, in business. Everything you touch seems to turn into gold. And where you are now as the director of Alumni Association at WVU, correct?
Yes.
Once again, you're back home.
Coming back home, this opportunity was a powerful one. When you're looking at, I was looking at, what was next. Sort of, I just finished working for Venus Williams, and I was sort of consulting for a few companies, and I was just ready for a change, unsure what that change might look like. And you hinted on preparation in life's journey, and being prepared for change. Sometimes be careful what you wish for, but in this case, when the opportunity presented itself to come here and have the first meeting and meet with the entire team, and when the answer was, "We'd love to have you come," it was amazing. It truly was, and it was like coming back home for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In the business sector, how has sports and being a Division I student athlete, how did that prepare you for business?
I was blessed in that I came from a very serious household. A father who was a successful businessman, a mother and highly educated. My mother, an educator, highly educated as well. We grew up in a home where it was all about preparation. My father and mother loved that. And obviously embraced the fact that their son was doing well as an athlete, and had this amazing opportunity to get his school paid for and play Division I football. But for them, it was always education came first, and all those life experiences, I think, again, prepared me as much as I could. The stuff that we hit when you're still 17 years old,
Right.
getting here, and life is going to smack you in the face a little bit. But I had strong preparation coming in. I had a father who I watched, manage businesses. I went to his office and I sat in some meetings with him, and all those conversations. I sat on his lap as a kid, and he read the New York Times to me. So I was prepared in a different way. Then you get here, and I had a great education. That prepares you as best it can.
Sure.
It's not like these kids have now, where they are really exposed to, they have great opportunities to get some mentorships in college, where that better prepare them when they get out. I just thought, football is about discipline. It is about schedule. It's about, understanding yourself. And I think that just, the lessons that you and I learned on the field, as from teamwork and obviously learning self-responsibility and things like that, helped to prepare me. And then you get out in the world and you're like, whoa. And if you have a good base, then it'll help you along the way. It at least help you, as opposed to completely not being prepared. You and I were blessed to know what it's like to, have to be somewhere on time.
Right.
No excuses.
Right.
Do the
Right.
things you're not happy about doing. And hopefully you find some success in that.
Awesome thing about that, and I think Coach Nealon, like I said, to his credit and to the rest of the staff as well, Bob Simmons was, like you said, great man, high character guy.
Sure.
They did such a dynamic job of time management and really teaching us what that was all about. And again, as a 17, 18-year-old, you may not get it right then and there, but because the teachings were vast, but they were consistent,
Yes.
by the time you left, you had a foundation to come back to.
For
On
sure.
top of, in your household, your parents and my mom, she was very stringent on that. So I understood what time management was and paying attention to details and all that good stuff. And then that translated when I stopped playing into the business world.
Right.
If you had to think about a few lessons along the way that you would impart on today's generation, as far as student athlete and in the business sector, what would that be, David?
I think there's a lot. There is conflict resolution. It is a big piece of it. Patience.
Yeah.
As a young man, when you're first getting here, I didn't know, that as I came in as a tailback, seeing that suddenly thrust in front of me was Eugene Napoleon and A.B. Brown. Outside of the fact there was unbelievable people like Undra here, and then having to say, okay, if I want to play here, I need to embrace a new opportunity, which was then moving me to defensive back, which, thank God, that gave me the opportunity to play on special teams. You got to be patient. You have to be able to move and groove in life. These are all critical pieces of being a successful. Have a vision, but be bright enough and patient enough and thoughtful enough to be able to be flexible
Yeah.
and embrace opportunities to present themselves, because they don't always look like you think they're going to look going in. But great things can come if you prepare yourself to be wide-eyed and open to the new opportunities when they come. Those are things that I think a lot of these kids, as I speak to them today, are not necessarily equipped with. Some of the characteristics they're not necessarily equipped with, which is going to be a challenge, obviously, when they get out into the real world, which I think, part of what sports sort of prepares you for.
Right. That's the key. And again, that's why I was looking so forward to this particular interview and sit down with you, because there's so many different nuances that you bring to the table, especially, again, being back on campus and being able to rub elbows with current student athletes there. Do you get a chance to speak to some of them about your experiences when you were there?
I
And
do.
you get a chance to build that bridge with them so they can understand. I too went through what you are currently dealing with.
Yeah. No, it's powerful when you find the ones who are opened enough to really listen. Um, my story is a little crazy in its own way, and amazing. And it is, a lot of people kind of sit back and say, you're a political science major. Well, you came here to play football. Pro football is not in the cards for you. You're supposed to be an attorney, but some way you take your political science degree and turn it into a career in the fashion industry where you're managing all these businesses. That's an interesting arc. um, and the devil is in the details and in the creativity, and some the good decisions I made, some of the bad decisions I made that led to an amazing journey. And you try to tell them that it's not all going to look just like you think it's going to look, but here are some things that you should look out for. And if you see things are going and you find the right mentor, and things are working, don't jump ship so quick because somebody throws a bigger dollar amount at you. Sometimes stay the course because there's something bigger down the road.
That is,
There's lessons.
that's bigger. I think those are the jewels that I think, and that's why I'm glad that you are sitting where you're sitting, because I think being able to share that with these our current student athletes is probably, it's more valuable than they even know now.
for sure.
and they won't see that until the latter part when they get out of college, and depending on
Yes.
where God takes them. But I'm gonna share this with you, which is interesting. When I look at your career, especially in the business and fashion industry, oh my God. Um, if you don't mind, touch upon that a little bit as far as what it was like working in that world, and especially working with someone is freaking big, you know, has has the Williams family, huge. How was that?
I've had an amazing journey. I'm a blessed guy. Early I had good mentors. I made a decision to not take a job um, um, with big pharma and jump into fashion, which my father thought I was a little crazy, but he's like, it's your journey, run with it. I spent my early years at some smaller companies learning the business, making sure that I understood all aspects of the business. So when the big opportunity came to go to Calvin Klein, then to Tommy, and then work for Puff Daddy, I was prepared. Um, I knew the ins and outs of the business. You're always getting smarter and better, but I was prepared for the big job. Um, Working for Venus, I was, again, because I worked for big brands, I worked closely with Tommy Hilfiger. We're a $2 billion corporation, but I'm upper management, so I'm working with him. Puffy, I'm number 3 in the company, so I know what it's like to deal with that personality. Um,
Absolutely.
the expectations, and some of the interesting conversations that come along with those expectations. What is celebrity like, and dealing with not only that, with dealing with the Macy's and the Bloomingdale's and the Saxes of the world and their upper management, but understanding what comes with those type of personalities
Right.
and the people that surround them. So when I got to Venus, this is much later in my career, I was ready to work for her, um, and take on. I was more comfortable with having a real dialogue with her as to what a strategy was than when I was younger, and a little, you know, how do you tell this guy no?
Right.
That's not the big idea. We should go left.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
was
Right.
ready for her to have those type of conversations, which was what she expected of me, when you're managing her business globally. So, um, a long journey of being prepared, talk intelligently about your business, and be able to present to someone, your boss, what the strategy is and why you feel so strongly about the road you think is best to take. So,
That's the beauty of, and again, that's why I always say this, man. The beauty of who you are as a person, because you're well versed in everything. I always tell people, don't get in business that you're not well versed in. So 27 years in the business that I'm in with the music entertainment industry,
right.
I'm up for 23, 24 years now. So managing one of the biggest groups out of his label, which was Total at the time, it's interesting,
Yes,
So like you said, when you are in a position to deal with people on that level, it's different. But as long as you know what you're doing and you're well versed, you have a chance to be very successful for them and for yourself. So with that
absolutely.
being said, that's why I'm so glad you're back at WVU, because I could only imagine being able to navigate these meetings and help take the university and the alumni association on a path that's going to be successful and fruitful for everybody. That's an amazing opportunity.
uh, Gene, like I said, I love it. I think I'm surrounded by very bright people, not only at the foundation, but at the university. My leadership at the Alumni Association and Kevin Berry. These are just quality people. Um, I bring a very different body of work than some of my other development officers. Because I have run businesses. So when I speak to a donor who is a highly successful business person, we can talk about supply chain management in a very different way than someone else might, just because I actually get it. So it's fun. That's, I bring some global experience. That's what makes me an interesting character there, in a place full of characters. That's what I love. I love being able to interact with amazing people who love this institution, and support it with their time and treasure. And it is finding ways to get them back involved with the university, or get them more involved in different ways, than just financially. Just them, to your point, getting them. They never thought that they could go speak to a class and actually, impart real world success to these
Right.
kids. That is fun. That is fun to be able to bring them home.
Absolutely. Listen, in closing, I want to ask you a question. And this is an interesting question. If you had to sit in front of a parent and help to navigate their son or daughter
Yeah.
to pick a university, what would be, I guess, some of the key points that you would impart on them as to how you would go about selecting a university?
Listen, if they're considering WVU, it is obviously, I can talk to it with passion. There is the traditions of this university that are powerful. There is the opportunities and the love of the not only the faculty and staff, and the way that they interact with the students, that I think is, and the broader university community.
Right.
That it's a big university, but it's a small university, and it's a really amazing place to come, interact, get an education, get real life skills, have fun, prepare for that journey. There's nothing there. There's very few institutions like that, and I think when you do that and you're able to walk them around campus, and they get that feeling that you and I had when you walked this place. Now, even more than it was 30 years ago when we were here.
Absolutely.
It's an amazing place to be.
Wow. David, man, listen, I can talk to you for hours.
As I could with you, my friend.
And I really do. I know your schedule is busy. I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on my show. Listen, I'm going to probably call you later on offline, and so we can chop it up about some other stuff, man. But I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time out to come on my show, my brother.
Thank you for having me, Gene, and all respect for all you do, and keep doing what you do, brother.
I appreciate you, man. Humbled by that. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Be good, brother.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I told you, this man is one of a kind. I'm so glad he had a chance to stop by and just impart some knowledge about what goes on in the business world, what he's currently doing at the university. And what a great guest, man. I'm honored to still be connected to people like David. He's a great guy, as you now see, and he loves our university. So I'll see you next week with another surprise guest on Relatively Sports with Eugene Napoleon. Let's go Mountaineers.